looking out for the current. Little spells of forgetfulness.
Welcome to the 3% Podcast, a bi-weekly podcast from Open Letter and 3%. This is Chad Post from Open Letter, and I'm joined as always by Tom Roberts from Riff Raff.
Hello, hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm all right.
You guys survived the heat wave?
We survived, yes.
Is it past now for you guys too?
Yeah, we had a whole night of torrential pouring rain, so it's passed.
Yep. Now it's beautiful.
Oh, yeah, no, we still got rain and it's like 60 degrees. Feels like early spring again.
Jesus. On the hottest day, I decided to go for like a 26-mile bike ride, which is very bad idea, but it was actually kind of fun. Felt better than just sitting there sweating. So we're on schedule, back after 2 weeks. And I think I have something I want to try and talk to you about. I'm not sure it's really going to be like exploratory and can be wide ranging. Beforehand, there are a couple like news items that seemed pretty important or relevant or interesting to talk about. One of which is a follow-up to an episode from last month where we talked about, the episode is called like, What Do You Want, I think, or something like that, about Chris Doblin's letter asking for people to write to congressmen about book culture or something, and it was rather confusing. There's been an update that came out a couple of weeks ago, and I meant to mention it on the last podcast but forgot, was that they say that if they don't get at least $500,000 in funding, there's the imminent threat of closure by the end of the summer. The stores may close in lieu of funding to pay vendors and stock shelves, which would fuck Columbia possibly, because that's where a lot of their textbooks are sold. But they say that it's because of all sorts of different things, including the increasing rent prices and minimum wage hikes. So I think I heard from somewhere else, it's not in this article, but that the minimum wage was part of what the big issue was.
I mean, he cited that in his original Facebook.
Yeah. But he like sort of alluded to like, well, we pay all this money to all these people. But it was said like positively rather than like, oh, now we realize that we can't do this. Yeah, we quote, when we received the news that the minimum wage had passed state and Senate legislature, we did forecasting for the next couple of years, and we saw immediately that we weren't going to be unsustainable with that system. It came on so fast in 24 months we couldn't cope.
Yeah.
One thing I didn't realize that's in the same article is that the employees had a strike in 2014.
Yeah, didn't they unionize?
It does not say that here, but maybe.
I think they were, organizing with an eye towards it or something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. So they picketed stores for low starting salaries and lack of benefits.
Yeah, so even if they weren't unionizing, certainly.
Yeah, exactly.
Organizing for their rights. There was no, so I guess they got better starting salaries and healthcare benefits?
I guess so. Doblin believes that book culture needs at least $500,000 in the form of a term loan, which would be repaid in regular payments over a set period of time, but hopes to find $750,000 to $1 million in order to avoid closing before the summer. I think they mean before the end of summer, since that ship has sailed. That's wild. That would be crazy.
So I still don't understand exactly what he's looking for. He's looking for investors who will be paid back, or is he looking for
I don't know.
Corporate bailout? I still don't quite understand.
Like some sort of government support, I think. I think he wants the city to give them money, or the state or something, maybe. Or like some sort of like small business loan that with really, really, really kind terms that would be, I don't know how that works.
Okay. So why did you bring this up?
Because we talked about it, we speculated about it before, and it was just like, well, what is he doing? And now specifically that it says that they might close by the end of summer.
Yeah. There's still nothing happening though. It's
not that I've seen.
Yeah.
But end of summer is coming very quick, so
I still don't. I don't know. There's part of me, I'm very conflicted about issues like this because I don't feel like the government should exist to bail companies out in any way, shape, or form. Because I do think the market should sort of decide these things. But I'm also, a socialist and believe that in a perfect world, none of this stuff matters at all. And it's the fact that Amazon gets all their tax breaks and every other, giant corporation gets all their tax breaks and assistance and all of those sorts of things seems kind of ridiculous in light of something like this, where by all accounts, they're trying to do right by their employees and keep them all employed and I'm sure they operate at a bare bones staff, but they're trying to keep everyone employed and paid well and all those sorts of things. And they're not trying to just take money from the government to offer, $1 million bonuses to their CEO.
Right.
I don't know. So I don't quite know how I feel about this thing. I just wish it also, there's something sort of telling, I think, about just the industry itself, that he has been unable to find investors without this like very public sort of appeal.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah, for sure. But it is, I mean, if book culture were to close, that would be a real blow to like New York City public or book selling.
It'd be a blow, I think, to those booksellers who would lose their jobs. But I mean,
that stores.
Some other bookstore will pick up the slack for sure.
And there's not a lot up in that area though. For their three stores. And the Long Island City one. Yeah.
I mean, north of whatever, Columbus Circle, there's just nothing.
Yeah, there really isn't. And that's where they kind of like, that's where they live. It reminds me too, very, very closely to what happened with Shaman Drum and Carl Port back before Shaman Drum closed, where he ran into the problem that they ran into. I don't know if we've ever talked about this on here, but we probably have. But that when they started listing like ISBNs on syllabi for the University of Michigan students, and everyone started ordering their books digitally or through the internet, through used bookstores and Amazon and everywhere else. I think it was mostly used bookstores at that point in time. They lost it was like 75% of their revenue from textbooks, like overnight almost. In like 1 year, just plummeted. And they had that was like their cash cow to keep them in business and be able to do what they were doing. And so Carl made like a public appeal for help and investors to help them stay afloat. And I think someone did give them like some amount of money to stay around because they didn't want Shaman Drum to go away. And then it was like 5 months later that they're out of business. There's like a last gasp effort, and it worked for like a very short period of time, which does seem like this potential problem too. If they're like need $500,000 today that they're going to pay back, what makes them think that they're going to be able to pay that back, rather than just be back in the same position at the end of another 6 months or a year?
I mean, that's my assumption would be that they're having trouble securing loans or whatever for that very reason, because people don't want to just hand over money to help you bail out current debt without seeing that you're going to become sustainable in the future. And I mean, you might get some like wealthy person who doesn't even look at your accounting and loans you the money, but small business loans and those sorts of things certainly pour over your books. So that would be my guess, is that they still haven't figured out a way to be sustainable.
Yeah. Yep. Well, that is sad, but hopefully it'll all work out. One thing that I saw yesterday too, because you talked a lot about Amazon last time, and I don't want to get too much into this, although I think they're always like present in the background somehow. But I saw this thing that like Dean Koontz, the horror writer, signed with Amazon Publishing, like a multi-book deal, and it just seemed to me like, I don't pay that much attention to like these kind of big authors, but that's a name I recognize as being one of those like people who has books in grocery stores, right? And like thrillers or something. And in this article, like not only like, so Amazon through Thomas and Mercer signed multi-book 7-figure deals with Dean Koontz, Barry Eisler, don't know, T.R. Reagan, Robin Dugoni, Sylvia Day, and Patricia Cornwell. Sylvia Day and Patricia Cornwell are familiar to me as like big names. What the fuck is happening? Like, how is Amazon acquiring like that? Like the last book by Dean Koontz came out in May from Bantam. Like, are they just wasting money here, or is there something else going on? Like Dean Koontz apparently has sold over 500 million copies.
One, I did not know Dean Koontz was a horror writer. I just thought he was like another, I don't know.
Yeah, I believe he's a horror writer, and I believe he has like, I want to say 120 books or something.
Is he one of those factory writers where he just stamps his name on there? And
I don't think so. I mean, maybe it's not that many. It's significant. There's like multiple ones a year dating back to 1968, and I think that's where like like over the past. So there's a novel in 2010, a novella, a novel in 11, novella in 13, novel in 13, novel in 14, 15.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just he's just consistent.
My guess is that it is pitched to these kind of writers that as a sort of cut out the middleman sort of thing, and they're promised a greater share of sales. Would be my guess. I don't know how else you could convince them to leave their whatever traditional publishing houses. It's kind of a dick move to those traditional publishing houses, but maybe these writers feel like this is the direction they need to go in to stay relevant and all of that sort of bullshit.
One part related to that is that it's a 5-book deal that includes a collection of 6 short thrillers for the company's Amazon Original Stories unit, which releases only digital and audio content.
Right.
Which ties into something else I'm going to bring up in a second. But
this is what I mean. Like he feels like this is a way to, stay on his toes and stay relevant to a different crowd of readers or different people who read a different way, like physically, a different medium and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah. He also has like 12 pen names, which is interesting, and he's 74. The thing that like it seems like these kind of properties, like Patricia Cornwell or Sylvia Day or Dean Koontz, are the properties that those big 5 publishers would invest in because they're safe and consistent. And they'd be more valuable to a big 5 press than necessarily to Amazon, who's probably going to overpay just for the name recognition. And that's why I'm sort of surprised that there's more than just like 1 or 2, but there's a number that have left to go to Amazon, because it seems like the kind of people that you would try and retain just solely because I can print this book, I'll make X amount of money, it will sell X number of copies no matter what we do. And that's valuable.
Yes, but they were overpaying as well.
Do you think they were really overpaying, or had they figured out that balance over the past 700 books that he published?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the math, because those advances were getting quite large for those kind of writers.
Oh yeah.
Like, did Patterson get like how much money from Little Brown?
I don't know. I mean, these are $1 million deals, so multi-million-dollar deals. So they're up there.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if those advances ever earn out. That's a good question.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they might with the international sales, the rights sales.
Right. Who knows? Amazon, I think, like I said, because they're not printing books.
Yeah.
They can sort of make the argument that, and maybe this is true, I don't know. I'd have to see their P&Ls, but the author might actually get a larger percentage of profit through Amazon.
If ebook sales would have to be more than what the normal paperback mass market sales would be, though, too, which seems really hard to believe. Like
I totally agree. I mean, it's all the evidence seems to suggest that ebooks, period, have sort of leveled off. If not sort of declined from their peak in whatever that year that was, 2009. And people just seem not to be moving to ebook, which in a way that they were 10 years ago. And this sort of gamble, this sort of deal and, future of Dean Koontz's writing output would sort of hinge on that. And you're right, it doesn't seem like that's possible.
Yeah, so the numbers seem weird, but one thing that has gone up is audiobooks, which apparently in 2019 they've risen 24.5%, reaching $940 million in sales, which is crazy. That's a huge jump. The most popular audiobook genres were general fiction, mystery, sci-fi.
Really? That's interesting.
However, nonfiction audio sales have grown and represent 32% of unit sales in 2018, led by general nonfiction, history, biography, memoir, and self-help. Whoa, so last year, 44,685 individual audiobook titles were produced. That's a shitload of books.
That's only, what'd you say, 44,000?
Yeah.
Yeah, but how many books are published?
I mean, a billion, but like, that's a lot of audiobook. There's a lot of audiobook. I've been thinking a lot and writing a lot about choice. And I got this when we're presented with choices, and so many choices, too many choices to really process. This is something I've done before, but this, was it yesterday? I opened up this email I got from Paste Magazine, which I don't even really know what Paste Magazine is. I just know it kind of exists, right? And here are the titles of their subjects in their newsletter. 100 best movies to watch on Netflix, 75 best TV shows to watch on Netflix, 40 best comedies on Netflix, 50 best movies on HBO Now, best stand-up specials, 10 best movies in theaters, 10 best shows on TV right now, 50 best movies on Amazon Prime right now. Like, the fuck is going on? Like, what are we doing? Like, I don't need that many options in my life. 44,000 books seems like a lot because I don't need that. I don't need that many choices.
But there's also, like I said, a million books published every year, and you manage to find your way to the books you want to read.
Yeah, that's something coming up. That's coming up. I'm not sure that I do. But then the part that there's, like, audiobooks are all over in controversial news this week too, because the Macmillan and various other big five presses are starting to meter the sale or the digital audio purchases and ebook purchases for libraries. So they're changing the deal. Like, I don't know all the specifics of how this works since they're not in a library exactly, but basically libraries that buy ebooks to loan to their clients, their users, and patrons is the word, and their audiobooks that they buy to give to patrons, they're both 3 to 5 times more expensive than it would be for a customer, but also they are only available for 2 years, and then the library has to decide if they want to repurchase it or not. And now Macmillan has put a 4-month embargo on new release titles because they've shown that, like, making it available through the library is cutting into their sales. So libraries are very pissed about this. Which you don't care about because you want to sell the books to the individuals, but it is an access issue for people who are library users for one financial reason or another.
That's interesting. It's interesting because I don't know if I feel that anybody, frankly, not just library patrons, are absolutely entitled to be able to get that thing when they want that thing.
Well, you can't get it when you want it right now. So you wait in line. So, like, if you want to rent, if you want to check out a book, like, they have a number of licenses that they can rent out. So, or check out. I don't know. Terminology is weird when you're talking about it this way. But they have the number that they can check out, and for, like, popular titles, they might have like 6 at our local library. Sometimes there's as many as like 100 if it's like something that's really important. But they're paying vastly more for that. And then 2 years later, all of those are gone. And that's the part that I think is more concerning. Like, the beginning, like, you wait in line, you can wait in line forever. Like, I've checked out audiobooks through the library where, like, it took like 5 months for like for the Underground Railroad book by Colson Whitehead for me to get that. That took months for it to be checked out through the audio through the library, right? Because I waited in line patiently. But after 2 years, if it were gone, that's a weird culling of the library's collection at a point that the book is no longer necessarily that popular. And it's just going to it just reinforces something that concerns me about, like, our only paying attention to the new and the biggest of the new. Libraries should exist to be able to have something like this well into the future where someone might discover it and go after it instead of, like, well, our 24 months are up. I guess we can't really afford to buy this book again because who cares? You know, there's 20,000 new books.
Right, but they're clearly going to, I guarantee you, your local library re-upped on Colson Whitehead's.
Colson Whitehead. but they don't re-up it on a lot of other things.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a decision they have to make, just as they have to make a decision on which books to keep there. They don't have every book ever published on their shelves.
No, but you can actually get interlibrary loans for basically any other book. You can't do that for digital stuff.
Look, there are financial limitations on these things, you know, and it's the publisher's right to sort of do that, don't you think?
I don't disagree with it. I just think it's interesting that this is what's happening, and the libraries are very upset about it. And the audiobooks are becoming, as they become more and more popular, they're going to put more and more of a crunch on this, and libraries are adjusting by not doing anything with books. Like most libraries are so much not book oriented anymore. Like our library has like a huge VR room, and teaches kids coding, and you can rent audio visual equipment and bikes and shit. Like there's like not like the idea of a library being about books is like that's very much not the case anymore. And this isn't gonna help that in any way. This is gonna just reinforce that libraries are community centers that are more than just a book place. But with the engagement with the digital and with audiences, especially like elderly audiences, like to cut into their possibility of using the library sort of sucks. And when it's like Simon and Schuster and Hachette, like I don't fucking care about them. Like I don't care if they want to make more money. Like fuck them. Like I just don't. Like I would rather support the library against any big shitty corporation.
I mean, look, I agree with you. I just don't know that, like, if they have identified a significant problem with their distribution and identified a way to make more actual sales, like, it's hard to...
If there were no libraries, I've said this before and I'll say this forever, if there are no libraries that existed today, they would never come into existence.
No. Well, universities. Anyway,
maybe.
I agree with you that it sucks that they are now going to do this, but 4 months is not an eternity, you know? Like they've...
It's unclear as to what the actual policy will be, I think, going forward with the different places. This was a test that they did with their books. Yeah. And apparently ebooks that libraries constitute 45% of their ebook sales.
That's
of a publisher's total digital reads. Libraries make up 45% of the total digital reads.
Wow,
and
that's interesting.
15% of the overall revenue, though.
Overall revenue. Not digital revenue.
Yeah, this article is not specific with words in that.
I mean,
overall, it says their revenue. So I think they mean the ebook, but it's not specifying. I think it means that although libraries make up 45% of their ebook reads, that those accounts only account for 15% of the ebook revenue, we'll say. I think that's what this sentence means, but it's not clear. But the ebooks are sold to libraries for a 2-year contract, allowing a book to be lent either 26 or 52 times separately. After that period of time, then you have to rebuy it again. So it's part of that whole, like, you rebuy a book if it got loaned out so many times because it gets damaged.
Yeah.
Which, like, treating these things like that makes, I mean, it's logical. It's just going to keep manipulating our marketplace in weird ways. The better one that's got everyone pissed off is Audible's Captions program for audiobooks. Do you know about this?
No, I don't. Yeah. I'm so out of the loop on audiobooks.
So I love audiobooks, and I've said many times I'll read while I'm on the treadmill and listen to the audiobook because it makes, like, listening to a pension book on just audiobook is very difficult. And even though it shouldn't, I don't know, it just is. But like but if I can look at it, see, it's totally fine. Okay, so Audible announced a program called Captions, which let me see if they actually explain. They keep saying like they won't tell you exactly what it is because they're like, people don't understand what our program is yet. It's in beta. We haven't shown it to publishers. You know, we're in discussions, blah, blah, blah. But basically what it's doing is like it would caption using voice, according to the story in USA Today, it would use transcription program to transcribe the audiobook into text so that you could read it as you listen, thereby like essentially like
a loophole.
Yes. And they're like, well, this isn't a copyright violation because it's not the book and it's not like reading the book. It's like seeing closed captions on an audiobook, on an
Where
audio
would you see
program.
them?
What's that?
Where would you see them?
They have not shown on the picture that's shown. It's on your phone. So when you're listening to the audiobook, the screen has the text as it's being read, and looks like it would scroll up and away. So that if you look down at your phone, it would be, the words that are being read through the audiobook, you're seeing on your screen on the Audible app.
A karaoke screen
Like a
on your
karaoke
phone
screen.
while you're. Don't most people use audiobooks to put their fucking phone in their pocket and do something?
Yes, although and that's what part of the statement here as to why they're doing it is to work with children, with kids, because kids tend to do that, and like if they can get them to engage more with the text and see the text, they tend to understand more than they do if they just listen. That is absolutely the case, like fundamentally true. So if that's like, I can't imagine that this would like really. I don't know. I mean, I see where the publishers are freaking out on like this being like a copyright infringement, and like you can't do all that kind of stuff. You can't just reprint a text because you decided you wanted to, like in this book or in this audiobook in this way. Like that does seem like a bit of a problem. But then again, I assume that this is one of those kind of options that no one will ever use.
I mean, yes, but also, yeah, that's a bullshit loophole. Like,
it's crazy.
How did they not? It seems
I
crazy that they're trying to justify it.
What I don't understand completely, and why it's so. So Audible sent a statement that captions, quote, does not replicate or replace the print or ebook reading experience, which I'm not sure what that means. But so all you have to do right now, if you buy an audiobook through Audible, there's a vast number of them that are connected where you can get the ebook cheaper, and it will be on your phone as well. And you can read the ebook. It'll sync up with your audio thing. And if you did that and then allowed it to like be imported into this Captions program, that makes sense to me. And that seems not to be a violation. Rather than having to use two different apps in your phone, if you buy both versions, an audiobook and an ebook version, you could read the ebook in the audiobook as you listen to it. That makes total sense to me. I don't know why. I mean, this is going one step further than that by like and loopholing it.
Yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't just encourage their customers to buy the very cheap digital version. I guess it doesn't have the ability to scroll. Like,
yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Why do they just
sync
build
that
an
way.
e-reader that it does that?
I've never used the app on my on my phone for like the Kindle app on my phone. There's a part where if I own the audiobook, I can hit play. I wonder if it does it through there. I've never checked. Because I never used that. Like I only really just listen to the audiobooks and then I'll look at it otherwise. But I'll check that out, because if that scrolled, then that would be this program, but like legal. Amazon's just trying to make you crazy, man. Little bit by little bit by little bit.
At this point, it just seems so fucking impossible. I don't even know. I just don't. I get an email. So where the bookstore is in a large building next to another large apartment building next to another a large apartment building, something like 300 units or something. We got an email on Saturday stating that they had just finally sorted through all of the packages that had come in, and that because of Amazon's Prime Days, there was an overwhelming number of packages in the mailroom and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, this doesn't apply to me because we get our packages shipped right to our door. But like for the residents, like this was obviously a big deal. That like people go crazy for fucking Prime Day. Like, and it's sort of, and just like, when I try to go dump my recycling out on Monday, I'm sure there's going to be a billion fucking cardboard boxes with that stupid smiley arrow on it, just like there is like in the month leading up to Christmas. Like just everyone's way of shopping is now that. And I just don't know. We're never going back. That's all there is.
No, yeah, we're definitely never going back. There's a lot of stuff related to like price things that I've been thinking about too in relation to this book, but I don't want to talk about them. So here's the figures, just a quick quick search. Apparently, they sold 175 million items during their 2-day event and surpassed combined sales total from Black Friday and Cyber Monday in 2018.
Wow.
Yeah. They found the average hourly spend of U.S. Amazon customers this year was up 35% compared with Prime Day 2018 and 55% higher than Prime Day 2017. That's wild. So like, yeah, apparently a website crashed because there's too many people on there.
Amazon's website crashed?
Yeah. It says when Amazon's website last year, Prime Day temporarily failed when Amazon's website crashed due to an uptick in traffic. I guess that was last year. I didn't even know what fuck Prime Day was. So like, I'm out of the loop on that one.
I did not either until like 3 days ago. I thought people were referencing like Cyber Monday. I thought they were one and the same, frankly.
I mean, it's from Amazon's perspective, it's genius. You get like these massive days in which people are buying shitloads of stuff. Because for the bookstore, obviously, November, December, big months. If you could take something and do something in July that would replicate those sales just for July, like that's a nice little mid boost, like a boost in the middle of the year to help you keep going. I don't think Amazon needs that though.
Well, I mean, that's what Independent Bookstore Day is.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Which is in May, right?
Yeah, it was in May this year. I think it's in April next year.
Yeah, April 25th.
There was I don't know if you saw this or if it's even in your orbit since you don't own a bookstore, but, it had been being, Independent Bookstore Day had been being managed by the California Bookstore Day people.
Oh.
So up until like through this year's, and now the ABA is finally stepping in to sort of help because it's gotten so large and so complicated to manage.
Yeah.
So it is now actually a national thing. So
cool.
At least from the logistical point of, where everything, the hub of Independent Bookstore Day.
I have a random question for you that comes out of the text that you sent me from before, which we don't have to go into. But I was thinking about this in relation to Amazon, actually, and in relation to the bookstore, and how we were talking about different like alternative ways of shelving your titles. Oh. And so not to I could make a lot of jokes about it because it's funny to think about different fucked up ways to organize a section. But my question for you is this. So we have a system for organizing things by author last name, author first name, title. Everyone knows how to do that. You put it in sections. It makes it easy to find the books that you're looking for if you know what you're looking for. I wonder if someone ever did a test on like if things are organized in a different way, if customers buy more or less. Like Amazon obviously is operating on a way, when you use Amazon site, you're not looking at things in any sort of alphabetical order whatsoever. They're all grouped by like other reasons.
They're
ranked, but they're also like, if you're looking at a book about baseball, it'll show you other potential baseball books you want. Or it's like, it can be categorized. There's other ways that it can use the algorithms to like recommend things that you might be interested in. And it is weird that I mean, it's why tables are successful along with like the books being faced out and being stacked and being, there and very much in your face. But you don't organize your tables by like last name, like, right? I assume.
No, but there's only, I mean, on our tables you get, I don't know, 100, right. 75 books on each titles. I mean, on each table. So what's the point of doing that? Also, there's a purely aesthetic thing is like you have to make it so the piles are accessible and presented the right way. Yeah.
No, I'm not saying anything about that per se, but like the looking through looking through tables or looking through books in that way is more appealing to me when I think about it than it is to go scan through things in like a normal alphabetical order. Like there's more joy in that serendipity of things that are there and that are like put next to each other, but aren't necessarily in some structure, in like a structure that's dictated by something, seemingly random, like a first letter of a last name. But and I wonder there's something appealing about that, and I wonder if anyone ever could do an experiment on like how that would play out with customers. It would be drive you insane to try and find a book if you were like doing inventory for sure, like unless you knew where everything was. But it's I'm just curious about it.
So I guess you didn't look too closely at our bookstore when you were here, but so our nonfiction is just nonfiction. It is just one section,
Right.
Which, is partly because we didn't want to clutter up the aesthetic of the shelf of the dedicated nonfiction section, that half of the store, with like, hey, here's a nature row, here's a science row,
Yeah.
and then it's also, over the years, I've just been irritated with the way that like we are forced to categorize things. Is like, do you call this sociology or do you call it philosophy? Do you call it politics? Like, it all overlaps so much as it is, like, especially these days, and like fitting in historical texts in that regard. Anyway, so we decided just general nonfiction, and what it creates, and I watch this every single day. People come in. I think there's a general sense. I think there's a lot of readers like me, and probably a lot of other people who like, I'm looking for a good nonfiction book, but I don't know what it's about. Like, I just want something interesting, right? And so people scan our shelves for like an hour, just looking for something that'll catch their eye. And that, I think, is what it encourages it, because they're looking through, and it's arranged alphabetically for my sake, basically, so I know where to find things. But the customers, I mean, sure, they might know a certain name here or there, but basically they're just scanning through, looking at titles on the spines, and hopefully the subtitles are there to give it some indication of what it is and all of that. They're just like, they just want something that's gonna jump out and grab them and say, hey, this is interesting.
Yeah, that's why that's why I'm thinking like the groupings of things that aren't necessarily bound by that encourage people to continue looking at them instead of going to a spot or just like, I mean, for fiction, for alphabetical last name fiction is kind of a weird conceit in the end. I mean, it makes it easy to find stuff, but like depending on where you are, you're either going to be in a nice location for someone to just happen upon your book, or in a really shitty location for someone to happen upon your book.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the way it goes, right?
Right, and then I wonder like which books end up that aren't ones that people are seeking out, but they end up picking out because they're in like the line of sight. And they just happen to be in the right place. There'd be a lot of interesting experiments people could do for book selling and for both retail, for publishing, for anything, if they really wanted to find out how people work. I wonder if, I mean, that is what Amazon's probably doing. And it occurred to me as I say that Amazon's stores aren't organized by title or by an alphabetical order, are they?
I don't remember. I was thinking about this when you mentioned it. No, I believe it's by like rank.
It's like chaos, right? Like,
well,
yeah.
It's chaos, but it's like, it's also, it's a ranking. It's a sales ranking. It's a 5-star ranking. They have the various ways that they do things.
Yeah, but I don't think like on the regular. I mean, everything's spaced out though, right? But like they don't move it around as like something moves up in sales rank per se, like daily.
I think they do. I think that's the whole point.
That's insanity. That's total insanity. I think that they decide which books they're going to carry based a lot on that, and then it's just like slapping shit together. But that would be like how would you even be checking that like on a regular basis to like reorder your store every single day? It would be fucking nonsense. I can't imagine that would make enough of a difference to be valuable.
But they're all faced out. I mean, how hard is it to fucking swap two books?
Because every single one of them has a tag. So you have to switch the tag. You'd have to switch a lot of stuff.
I don't know. What else are these employees doing all day? I mean, this is running a bookstore. This is constantly updating your display shelf.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they're helping people figure out their fucking chaotic environment and show them where there are one or two books. Have they expanded that at all? They have more bookstores now? I haven't even heard about them in so long.
stopped paying attention. I think like Seattle has a few now, and whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't hear anybody mention it anymore. That's
I
for
don't
sure.
either. Yeah, it looks like there's a lot in California, one of which is temporarily closed. And then like the two in Manhattan. And then a few here and there elsewhere, but like nowhere really. Just pretty wild.
Going back to the disordered or not disordered, unordered sections. I often wonder if like we just like put all of our poetry books on the shelf.
Yeah.
If it would matter, frankly, if they were just not in alphabetical order.
Yeah,
It would be
you should
very
try it.
annoying to find something when I get a call and somebody's like, "Hey, do you have a copy of X?" And I'd be like, "Fuck, I don't know." But
It'd make your life fun though. It'd give you, what else are you doing? You're just rearranging your shelves all day. You can just go look over there, figure it out.
But God, I mean, we have something like 600 poetry books in one bag. Like it's so slim that like you fit so many of them in there. They're very hard to find.
It seems like they're hard to find just to begin with because they're so slim.
Well, they're slim. I mean, the stuff we order is like super, like, I don't want to say weird, but like designed in a way that isn't necessarily with browsing in mind, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, the way that like, I don't know, Norton's poetry or Penguin poetry or whatever, like it's pretty, their spines are legible and you know what's going on. We order all this, small press stuff where it's like, who fucking knows if they'll have a title on the spine?
Yeah. It very well might not.
Or like,
it's hand sewn.
Look, I love Ugly Duckling. This is just a random thing. I got a book in the other day from Ugly Duckling where the paper they use, like, the uncoated stock that they use sometimes was a shade of red. I can't, like a deep rose red, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the ink used for like, the title, author, whatever was on there was like, I don't know, 3 shades away. It was barely legible, the cover. I was like, you have to like squint and hold it up to your face to try to make sense of what it was. It was a challenge.
There's an archipelago book, Twist, by what's the guy's first name? It's something with an H, and then Cano. He's a Basque writer, and they used like a dark brown with a dark green for the jacket copy, and it was really small, and like I literally couldn't read it. Like I couldn't get my eyes to focus on it. It's probably because I'm old, but my students had a hard time too. Like it was a bad combination. Those are killer. People should not do that.
No, I mean, step one, it should always be, this should be legible. People should know what they're getting into. Like, you want people to buy it. You want people to pick it up, not look at it and think, what the fuck is this?
We were pretty sure that Consortium was going to not allow us to do the cover for the incompletes that we did because it doesn't have the full title on the front cover. There are letters missing, but they wanted to make sure as long as it's all on the spine, then it was okay.
That's kind of crazy.
So yeah, I'll put a picture of it. Have you seen this? Have you gotten it?
I don't think so.
You should have gotten a review copy sometime semi-recently. But the cover, if you look it up, has like lines that cut off where the incomplete should be. So it says TH and then INC and then T or IES or TES. I mean, but the T doesn't look like a T; it looks like an I. So that middle part, the complete, that part's gone. But yeah, we were really afraid that they're going to be like, fuck no, you can't have a cover that doesn't have a name on it.
Right, but do you remember the what's it called? The Little Girl and the Cigarette?
Yeah.
And they don't have a single word on there. Oh, this is fine. I did get a review copy of this.
Okay.
That's fine.
They didn't complain. They didn't complain.
Okay.
But we were afraid they were going to, and looked for other examples because and the first question was like, is the complete title going to be somewhere? Like, yes, it's fine. But yeah, you never know. Those kind of titles.
So, do you have anything else?
Do you have anything else?
Well, I wanted to very briefly follow up right before BEA. I think we had this conversation about Dalkey and John Fosse and Jan Fosse or Fosse. I have no fucking idea how to say that. Yeah. And because I was explaining how I had a hard time getting Dalkey books at the store because they just don't seem to have stock on anything and they aren't reprinting and all of that sort of stuff. So I went to Community Books, and they still have their in Brooklyn, and they still have their small press section. It's like 2 bays where they have like a shelf, a shelf of Dalkey, a shelf of Open Letter, a couple shelves of NYRB, a couple shelves of whatever, New Directions, things like that. They had it's called Boathouse. I was going to say the Boathouse, but there's no the. And when I bought it, so you know Sam, I assume.
Yeah.
Okay. Sam is a bookseller there. He's a very, what's the word? Outgoing, sort of gregarious sort of spirit. And I'm buying it, and he's like, thank God this means I don't have to order it again.
Oh, no.
Because that's well, the other problem is, like, a lot of people are probably sitting on Dalkey books, and they just assume you're never going to be able to return them.
So let's just do this then. One thing with Jan Fosse, like, we were considering his newest book, and it is pretty good. I like him. I published him originally at Dalkey. He's probably going to win the Nobel Prize. It'll be the second time that I publish someone who I missed out on. That's fine. No big deal. Doesn't bother me at all. But the new book Fitzcarraldo is doing, it's part of like a 3-volume thing. It's huge. And I knew another press was making an offer on it, so I backed out because I didn't want to be part of any auction. But I did get the like, oh, we got an offer from someone. I was like, yeah, I fucking know that already. And they're like, you have 2 days to respond with like your best offer. And I immediately backed out, which I know is a bad business practice. That if there's like something really valuable, you should be involved in the auctioning of it, and that's something that could actually help indicate that it could do better, but I refuse to do that. So anyways, the Jan Fosse books are one thing. So Dalkey's site was gone for like all of last week. It's back today, but it was completely gone. Like, and it wasn't just like one of those like, something's gone. I was like, you are forbidden to access this page, and like everything seemed like it was just like really, really, really fucking gone. And this is like a big concern because we're about to start the next 2-month review with a Dalkey book, with Monster Human by Kirsty Skolmsvold, right? Can you try and get one copy of that book?
What's it called?
Monster Human, all one word. It says on Ingram that on iPage, it says that they have 726 copies in Pennsylvania, Chambersburg, and 14 in Indiana and 9 in Tennessee. If this book can't be purchased, like, I don't know what to do. Like, I have a copy of it. I know places that have had it, but it's probably a situation you're talking about where they have it and they don't want to, they're just sitting on it until it sells, and then they're not returning it, and they're not going to reorder it if it does sell. But I mean, it looks like it would be available from my side of things.
I've told you this before, right? Like, my understanding is that those large numbers like that are just basically
print on demand,
a way of conveying to the public that or to me that's a print on demand.
Yeah, I told you about that because the vice president from Ingram explained that that's all they were trying to do with those, and that there's times they'll say like a really round number, and that really round number is 100% evidence that it's just a fake thing. With the other. Oh, these ones are not. It's interesting. I was going to check and see if my Boathouse is print on demand, but it's not. I don't know if yours is.
It's not that they're... My understanding is that they don't... like, John does this thing where he waits for like a number of back orders to build up before he reprints. So it's not necessarily print on demand. It's like...
Oh, no, they're definitely doing print on demand. Because you can, if you pick up one of their books, one of their new books, open to the back, flip it over to the back, open up the back cover, and you'll see a barcode on the bottom. That barcode is indication that it's print on demand through Ingram's Lightning Source. Because the way that Lightning Source prints is that they do the cover separate from the interior. So they put a barcode on the interior package so they can make sure that the 2 barcodes match and that they bind the paper, the interior, with the right cover, because they're doing so many things at once. So when we've done print on demand through them for like books that like we're just like, we just about to run out, or we're like very close, or we're going to be reprinted in the near future, but we need 100 copies or whatever. And it has that. And we do all of our galleys through there now too. And they all have that barcode. And with all the new Delkey books that I've gotten, they all have that barcode, which is like the print on demand barcode. Like you wouldn't have that in any other normal printing circumstance. You would never have that. So it's a lot of them are just print on demand. They're also like, I'm trying to get in touch with them and it's impossible. Like they have a new, their website's back up and it's saying that they have fellowships that are available. So that they're looking to hire, God knows how many people. But there's no staff. The staff is John. The board has a president named John Kulka who has not been in touch with them in years, according to him. So I don't know what the fuck is going on still. I wish someone would communicate with me.
My book is not. Boathouse is not print on demand. And
yeah, neither is my copy of that either.
It's got a thing on here from about the University of Houston, Victoria. So it was reprinted at some point in the recent past.
Well, I think it was printed once.
Yeah, it's possible.
In 2017.
Just that time? I thought this book was older than that. Did they only do it?
This just came out.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, good. Now I feel less bad about reading this when I should be reading new books. Speaking of which, I'm reading. I got to get going here, but I wanted to say I'm reading the new Javier Marías, Berta, Isla. It is quite good. It is quite long.
Yeah.
But it is nice to be back in that world, I will say.
Very cool. I haven't seen it yet. I'm only reading Shirley Jackson novels at the moment. Like straight period. Especially Hangs a Man, which is great and has zero fucking information about it online and just driving me absolutely insane the other day. Which I did want to talk about. We'll talk about it at a different time. But the best one is the Sundial. Anyone who likes any sort of like it's very, very, it's one of the funniest books I've ever read in my life. Like I couldn't stop laughing. I read it all in one day. It's so funny. It's dark. It's sort of sinister, very sinister, but also like an incredibly funny kind of comedy of manners given how quirky all these weirdo characters are. But it's so fun. And I think people should read it, but you'll never find information online or any conversation about these books. The only conversation you'll find about Shirley Jackson is Haunting of Hill House and We've Always Lived in the Castle and The Lottery. Anything that's not the most popular or like in the recent moment, nobody is talking about. There's even a review in Slate that I made fun of in a post yesterday. That's like a review of Hangs a Man. And it's not. All it is about how he bought the ebook version and how that's important.
Okay.
It's the dumbest review I've read. I hate to say that because this person who wrote it, I respect, but it's really not a review. But the book is crazy. It's like got like a Twin Peaks elements to it. And it's a book that you could easily talk about and very cult like break down and get into, but nobody's done that. And it's really disappointing to me. Not even on Reddit. I went to fucking Reddit for information. Like, do you know how far down the rabbit hole that is?
I've never read Shirley Jackson. Can't imagine I ever will.
Oh my God, she's so good. You would love it. It's so good.
I don't really read horror,
it's
gothic.
Not horror.
Sort of.
It's not gothic.
I'm looking at it right here. It says Shirley Jackson, genre horror, mystery, gothic. Like how is it?
People are just marking it as that. That's not what it is at all. Hangs a Man is about a girl going to college and having a mental breakdown, and the Sundial is about someone who believes that they have a prophecy that the world's going to end and convinces their family that that's the case and that they just have to stay in their house so that all the world can go away outside of them. But they all hate each other and they're all trying to kill each other basically, and they're all very funny. And like one of the funnier bits is that the woman who sees the vision, quote unquote, she's constantly trying to get this one hanger on that's living at this estate to like have sex with her. So she goes and pounds on his door late at night yelling like, I'm only 48. I'm still good. I'm only 48. And then they decide that like, that it would be, there's a whole scene with these other crazy people who believe the world's going to end. That's fantastic. But then one of the characters, the granddaughter, the youngest one, is like, how is this a paradise? Like they keep thinking like the world's going to end, everything around them will die, but they're protected, they'll be safe, they'll inherit the earth and it'll be beautiful. It's like, what? In what way is that beautiful? Like we fucking hate each other. Like we were going to be stuck with each other And still, like, it's not going to make the world a better place. But it's really funny, and it is definitely not like a horror book. Like, it's not a horror book in any horror way that you think of a horror book.
All right.
It's horror like the way that Twin Peaks is horror.
Fair enough.
But where I wouldn't, that's like, it's different. It's different. But yeah, I assume they just market it as that because it's lazy and shorthand and whatever. But nobody carries any of these books. Like, it's driving me crazy.
Are they still in print?
Yeah, they were all reprinted like 3 years ago by Penguin with all brand new introductions from like Victor Lavelle and Jonathan Lethem and Francine Prose and who's the fourth one? Can't remember. But they're all reprinted as part of the Penguin Classics.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so they are like actively available.
All right.
Okay.
With that ringing endorsement for books that were written 50 years ago, I need to get going.
Yeah, let's read older books. Forget the new. Okay, I'll talk to you later, man.
All right. Bye.
Love